Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu pakhair agale ni hao chunashumme washmale. Ohio gozaima's. Guten Morgen. Hola. Bonjour. Privyet. Kaifa hal? Hale shuma chatore. Ahlan wa sahlan. Marhaba. Buna. Mucho gracias. Swabi. Ab balli kare aaya. Hoş geldin and ayasaya. Khuyamora. Chivato. Chihajot. Kalimera. Khairutan. And a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really lucky that I've been joined by my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajar Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hasan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your days with us. But first things first, hello Hajra. Assalamu alaikum. How are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much, Jazakallah khair, for introducing me. So, last night, we did receive some rainfall in Islamabad to dampen the effects of the smog. But I think the smog is still reigning supreme in the capital and we need to do something about it. But moving on to a very interesting stories, which is Pakistan's Asjad Iqbal qualifies for the pre-quarter final. Pakistan's Asjad Iqbal qualified for the pre-quarter final of the World Snooker Championship in Qatar. In the round of 32, Asjad Iqbal outplayed Mohammad Sufi of Syria by 4-1 frames. In the other round of the 32 matches, Lyman of the Germany outplayed Ehsan Ramazan of Pakistan by 4-1, while Jia Jong-ong of the Singapore beat Muhammad Asif of Pakistan by 4-2 game. And I think this is the game that was loved by Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and wishing the best of the luck for the Pakistanis to bring back the medal in Pakistan.
And obviously not in this context, but ladies and gentlemen, so several times, when we bunked from college, not that I'm recommending that as well, we actually went to play snooker as well. Oh, that's the kind of charm of it. But in addition to this, for all of those football fans who are out there, obviously the Ballon d'Or competition has always been in between Messi and Ronaldo, but this time around there's a bit of change as the Spain and Manchester City midfielder Rodri won the Ballon d'Or award for the best player in the world, beating Brazil's Vinicius Jr. and England's Jude Bellingham, both of Real Madrid, to the prestigious prize. Rodri, a first-time winner of the award, was instrumental in helping his team with an unprecedented fourth successive Premier League trophy last season. Wow. He was also named best player at this year's European Championship after Spain lifted a record extending for title. Wow. Congratulations, Rodri. For you to kind of be in that Hall of Fame is something that will inspire a lot of other midfielders in the game of football.
And in the field of very interesting development, and especially relating to the celestial bodies, China is pressing ahead with its mission to land astronauts on the moon by 2030. Oh my God. Moving quickly with the development and the construction efforts to turn this goal into a reality. A batch of 10 astronauts will be engaged in training a regimen aimed at manned lunar and landing missions. These astronauts are scheduled to acquire skills in the maneuvering spacecraft and operating the lunar rovers, and will be trained to master the techniques for identifying celestial bodies and conducting the geological views.
Wow, I think I would want to be one of those people.
I think one of the narrative that we consistently find, especially when it talks about the outer space or the celestial body, is that how humans have also colonized these bodies. And I think this is very, I don't know, to me it's very shocking, and I really don't want that narrative to happen, because I do feel that there are some extra intelligent beings other than the humans that might be residing in the universe, but that possibility is very scary.
I mean, they might be residing over here as well, but you never know. And you never know, probably you land on moon, your life expectancy gets to 150 years because probably the time is faster over there. So I don't know, I think these are the things that we're yet to experience.
And the climate of the moon might be better than what we are witnessing on the earth, and that is solely because of the human contribution in degrading the environment. So there's an entire team within this planet, on this humanity, that is working to make sure that we upgrade the status of the humanity, we upgrade the status of our earth, because that is the need of the hour, and we need to make sure that we are gathered on the similar platform to fight against the menace of climate change, because this is the earth that we want our next generation to inherit, a world that should be inheritable, a world that should be a healthy place to live in. And Pakistan being the most vulnerable country when it comes to the climatic changes, because it is of not our own production, yet we are suffering. So our government is one of the very finest government, and our state was one of the first state to establish the Ministry of Climate Change, and that shows the seriousness in which our state is indulging to make sure that we fight on the climate change. So in this regard, we are very glad that we have been joined by two prestigious personalities who are making sure that there is system infrastructure in place out there in which Pakistan can acquire the Green Climate Fund. What is that funding entirely about? They're going to unwind this conversation for us. That we are very glad that once again we have been joined by a very prestigious personality from NRSP. He happens to be Dr. Rashid Bajwa. He is the CEO of the NRSP. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for joining again.
So wonderful to have you over here. Alongside him, ladies and gentlemen, the brain behind the Climber Venture project itself has joined us. You know, we're very lucky to kind of have this conversation with her. We're very lucky that we have been joined by the team lead CRCC at NRSP, Ms. Kashmala Kaka Khail. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum ji. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for joining us. So ladies first, right? So Kashmala, tell us about your venture. You know, what is Climber Ventures all about and how is NRSP fits into the equation?
Thank you very much, ji. I'd like to tell 3 stories to explain exactly why we are here on your beautiful couch.
You're all ears. Yeah.
Story number 1 is what we keep hearing in Pakistan is that there are funding opportunities available for climate change and we're just not being able to access it.
Okay.
So that was very close to my heart. It was important for me. We were engaging in international negotiations. We were out there trying to make sense of things, but we were not being able to access the funding opportunities. That's when Rashid Saab and I got together and we thought maybe now is the time where we actually create a capacity in Pakistan in an entity that is homegrown, Pakistan ki hai, and we are able to take it forward over here, rather than other entities telling us, international entities telling us how we should be doing our business on issues that relate to us.
True.
So that's story number 1. So we were able to build that capacity. While we built that capacity, we thought, okay, so what should our billion-dollar idea be? What is it that we should try and put out there to the entities, to the international funding opportunities? Because as you realize, climate finance is competitive. So there's other countries wanting to access it as well. So when we wanted to focus on an idea, we realized that generally in Pakistan, we continuously try to deal with challenges of climate change, but nobody really thinks about the solutions. So we thought, okay, where exactly is the solution space? And we sort of landed on the creative startup ecosystem in Pakistan. Though nascent, but primarily you'll see they're focused on e-commerce, on health tech, on those related issues. And we thought if we are able to bring in investments, jumpstart this ecosystem that we have, maybe we can create magic.
Right.
Third story.
Sure.
How do you create that magic? We went into the ecosystem and we realized that it's fragmented. It's in 2 pieces. Okay. So the first piece really is people have money to just focus on helping you pilot an idea.
Right.
But nobody really helps you invest in that idea ultimately. True. Or there are hardcore investors where they say, give me a good product that I invest in. Nobody really wants to focus on the entire supply chain of creating a product or a unicorn out of Pakistan ultimately. So when we realized the problem, we thought let's bring both these pieces together and create Climber Ventures.
And Dr. Bajwa, I would like you to explore the intersectionality of this oppressive systems that we have in place. For example, you're working in poverty elevation, right? How does the climate change, Climber Ventures, NRSP and the empowerment comes into this equation, the entire venture that you're heading now?
And the goals of Climber Venture as well.
So just to let you know that as Kashmala is saying, that the Green Climate Fund is a global fund.
Right.
NRSP is one of the 2 accredited entities because they're direct access entities.
Right.
And it took us a lot of effort and time. We had to set up their systems which are compliant with the Green Climate Fund. So once we got this accreditation, now we were able to access funding though on a competitive basis from the GCF, and this is what we were able to do it. And so the relationship is that we are looking for enterprises or entrepreneurs, both small and big, in rural and urban areas, particularly in the rural areas, youngsters who have an idea which can create a business model, but they require funding for it and hand-holding. So this is what Climber Ventures is going to do that. Right. Once this hand-holding is done, and if the idea and the structure which they are able to create is robust enough, then we can also provide investment with them like an equity. So this is the whole idea, and it transcends gender. Men, women, girls, boys, they can all start off it. Rural, urban people can start off it. And it's not a small, I mean, we are going to help in the first phase more than 100 such startups.
I think it's wonderful. And in addition to this, sir, you know, for my and for our viewers in 47 different countries, for their better understanding, Do you think that all of these initiatives, you know, people and entrepreneurs and enterprises who really need to kind of come up and, you know, show up to the party really need to be, you know, climate resilient? You know, all of these projects need to be in line with that, which will make us more climate resilient, or do you think it can be any startup?
No, it has to be related to climate.
Okay.
Green
And they
solution
also
there.
have to prove that with the business model which they are going to project and promote, it reduces emissions, it reduces carbon. So that kind of an area, so there is a structure around it where they can do that.
Right.
And who knows, some of them might become very big in the long run and create a business model for the country.
Right.
Wonderful.
And Kashmala, now moving on to you, how do you envision private sector into it, right? So in the recent studies, you cannot discount the equation of the public-private collaboration, and especially when we are talking about green solutions to the fund. How do you envision that, and is it like this venture is like open to university students? Is it functionalized? Can they like pitch in ideas? How do you go about
Any
it?
prerequisites?
Prerequisite is a great idea, that's all. So I think you asked two questions and I'll answer the
Sure,
private sector one first. Globally, the conversation around raising climate finance is that it's not just a public sector problem. Private sector has to be equally involved and equally contribute.
True.
And that can only
Because they're equally responsible
Absolutely.
for that.
And so when I say contribute, it's not that they have to contribute to try and reduce, try and help developing countries. वो तो ठीक है. That's what the governments have to do. That's where the public money comes in. A flood, a disaster, or whatever strikes in a developing country. That's the responsibility of the developed country governments, and that's why funds like the GCF and others have been set up. But to actually mobilize billions and trillions, you need to come up with ideas where the energy transition is happening right now. Whether we like it or not, we have to get on. There's a wave happening, and that's where the private sector comes in.
True.
The research and development, the investments in opportunities that currently we don't even know what the opportunities are, right? They don't even exist. So the beauty of this program and Climate Ventures is harnessing ideas that we don't even know can potentially be solutions for the climate change that is being impacted in our lives right now. So, from that perspective, private sector 100%. As Bajwa Sahab said, you set up an equity fund, so we've been able to raise the anchor investment. It has to be crowded in with additional private sector investments as well, and that's how you increase the pot that you take forward.
And Ms. Kagakhel, in addition to this, obviously, I think certainly everybody would want to learn about the objectives of Climate Ventures, and in addition to this, you know, do you think it's in line with the Climate Action Plan of Pakistan, and how will it have its impact and effects on, you know, our economy?
So 100%. When you develop these programs, it's very difficult to not be aligned to what your national goals and national action plan is, or your NDCs that we've submitted. Fully in line with what we have to achieve as a country, because generally you do get public sector projects and you do try and do things for the adaptation side of things, which is really helping communities address the impacts of climate change. Here it's slightly different. It's bringing in the younger generation to be part of the solution, and that's very much in line with what the government currently is hoping to achieve.
Right. And Dr. Bajwa, so now I want you to like explain how someone who is from like DI Khan, right? It's a very vulnerable area. It's like on the fringes. It's not a core area, right? So I went there, I did the reporting in 2022, and I was amazed. There was a rampant installation of the solar panels there, right? So I guess people are not that much educated enough to access the infrastructure of NRSP, or, you know, write big ideas on the papers, right? If someone from that fraternity, from that community want to approach you, is it like a people-friendly initiative? How can they do that, considering the fact that they might not be educated, yet they are farmers, yet this is a brilliant idea for the energy transition, like you mentioned, poverty alleviation, and at the same time empowering those communities? How that can person that approach
So
you?
this comes to the structure of NRSP itself. I mean, we are present in 73 districts. We have like 1,000 offices around there.
Right.
So people can come directly to us and you know, try to find out what is there about. But then there is internet now. So we are now going to set up a kind of a search engine where people can access this and then pitch in their ideas, and we can do that.
Right.
But more importantly, I must also tell you that this is the journey where we are today is been a journey of what I call triangulation. So at the top there is this Ministry of Climate Change, as you rightly said, which we were able to, you know, bring this idea to them and get this approval from them. But then the most important thing was that I must acknowledge FCDO, the UK aid, because they were the ones who actually funded us to set up the unit which Kashmala is heading, and then of course NRSP. And in the middle is the GCF, where, as I said, because being an accredited entity, we could access this money. The beauty of this is that you don't need just one project. We can go again to GCF for further projects, and we are already started planning for the, because this is global money. If Pakistan doesn't take it, somebody else will take it.
And that's exactly what I wanted to ask you, sir, because the last time that we had this conversation, you told us how, you know, alhamdulillah, you were wise enough that you know, brought up a model which was self-sustaining, right? You know, so it was a sustainable model, then, you know, they came a microfinance bank and whatnot, alhamdulillah, you know. So, but imagine that if this $50 million that we were talking about, and we were talking about startups and seeding money and whatnot, and those two actually main characteristics coming together, do you think that you plan to do it in a way where if a startup is successful, they pay back the money goes back to the fund again, and then there are more startups, you know?
Absolutely.
So probably Ms. Kagakil or you, whoever.
It's a revolving fund. And more importantly, GCF's contribution not only is the money, the seed capital which they are providing, it's also that the structure of the fund is a first loss guarantee. So it means that if, for example, this enterprise which is being set up, the crowding in will come in, private sector will come in, because GCF's money will be used as a first loss.
Okay.
So there will be a kind of a insurance for it to move ahead.
Wow, that's
right.
wonderful.
And Ms. Kashmala, now moving on to you, what are some of the challenges that you envision might be up there in this, you know, initiative of
and who's helping you overcome that?
I'd like to tag this to the question you asked Bajwa Sahab as well, in terms of DI Khan. There are ideas in DI Khan. How are you going to reach out to them? We were very conscious of not keeping this program restricted to Karachi, Lahore and Islamabad.
Absolutely.
And the first initiative or the part of the program is what we call idea mining.
Okay.
And idea mining is not going to happen in our offices. So we have to, and it's designed by design. The program Climate Ventures has been set up in a way that we do actually go out.
Right.
Coming to the challenges, right now, you know, you take risks, you come up with ideas, and you think, you know, this is the direction I'm going to go in. I don't know what challenges I will face, but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get to the end of it. So the end is very clear. We know that we want to create a couple of unicorns out of Pakistan by just starting this initiative that we've started. Challenges is something that you take in your stride. We've come this far. There are lots of stories, but that doesn't take you. That doesn't. There's no way that can hold you back.
I love the optimism, honestly. You know, because you know, time and again, you know, we certainly do come across a lot of challenges, but such optimism will certainly keep the bandwagon going, and I think that's exactly what is required as well. Where we are talking about all of this, now let's talk about how people would be able to tap onto this fund, which is available for them, you know, for all of those enterprising figures who are out there, who are listening to us. What kind of offices are being put in place, you know, where can you go, you know, what documents do you require, so, you know, those basics that everybody needs.
So I'll use this opportunity to share that we are inshallah having a soft launch of the program on November 8th.
Wonderful.
And we're working towards trying to come up with some of the messages and some of the questions that you've asked over here to tie into the soft launch that we have next Friday. It'll take us about 2 to 3 months in the next couple of months, where we're setting up, as Bajwa Sahab said, our platform, our website, our application processes, how people can reach out to us, how we will reach out to people.
Wonderful.
Right.
So we don't expect that we'll be sitting in our offices. Yes, absolutely. It's based in Islamabad. This is where we will operate out of. But we will go out to people. We will reach out to people. It's not an application form in English, which is very difficult for people to access. The access to finance issues that Pakistan has internationally, we don't want to bring that down to the communities that we want to work in and the ideas that people will have. So we will make it as user friendly as possible, and things, messages, ideas, launches you will see a lot of that coming in the next couple of months.
So, Dr. Bajwa, one cannot discount, when we are talking about the vulnerable people, the role of farmers and the help that they provide to the agrarian society of the Pakistan, and how much vulnerable they are to this vagaries of the climate change. So there is any specific or design program for the outreach of the farmers out there? Because I don't think so. I mean, they are as much well versed in the English, right? Or they are well versed with the bureaucratic structures to get access to these funding. So are you going out there, or is it specific farmer friendly, or I mean climate change friendly program? Because you see how the weather patterns have changed, the rain has changed. I mean, and it is also impacting their farming practices, which they inherited from their forefathers. What are we doing to make them less vulnerable to these changes?
No, it has to be. It has to be, and I think 70% of our population residing in rural areas.
Absolutely.
I think the ratios have to be balanced. That there would be. We are also anticipating there would be a lot of interest from the rural areas coming up, and there are now technologies available which can be adapted and acquired.
Yes.
You must have heard of this agri photovoltaics, and and then now that the solar panels have become affordable and other things. So I think the opportunity is there, and the business model can help and linking up with the farmer. Imagine if the technology is brought to the footsteps of the farmer out in the village, and then NRSP comes in with the microfinance program to finance such projects.
Wonderful. You
can imagine that the equation completes. So to me, I think this whole concept is probably going to change the way people look at climate change in Pakistan. I know that we are not the contributors to climate, but whatever the losses we are bearing, at least उसमें से कुछ ना कुछ तो कमाई कमी होगी.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. I think it's a win-win, Dr. Saab. Thank you so much, Ms. Kaka Khair, for being with us. Lovely to kind of have you over here and talk about our self-sustaining model, and then the rollover finance system that will be brought in for people, and the poverty alleviation. Not just that, how we will become more climate resilient. So GCF, thank you so much as well. And I think we really need to kind of give credit to the climate change ministry as well. So I think everybody who's played a role, congratulations to you, to us, to each and every one of us. Better days ahead for Pakistan. We're heading out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back, and before going on to the break,
in addition to this, like Hajra over here, obviously has been a very phenomenal one of those people who has actually contributed to our show in that way. We certainly want to speak about empowerment, but first, there's another Nobel Prize which has been given away. Let's see which one's that.
Right. So Japanese atomic bomb survivors group wins the Nobel Peace Prize. The Japanese organization Grassroots Movement for the Atomic Bomb Survivors from the Hiroshima and Nagasaki won the esteemed prize in a warning to the countries who have nuclear weapons not to use them. I think there is just only one country that has used it. So anyways, the Norwegian Nobel Committee said in its citation, the group is receiving the Peace Prize for its efforts to achieve a world free of nuclear weapons and for demonstrating through witness testimony that nuclear weapons must never be used again. And obviously, we've seen that how modernity has its darker face, and this is one of the demonstration of the darkness that accompanies the modernity. So now, like Shahzad mentioned, we want to unfold the conversation regarding women empowerment, and in the context of Pakistan, so are there safe spaces out there in which women can actually go work, exercise their right, and how far have we come when we have these conversations regarding feminism, women empowerment, and the concept of the safe space. So we are very glad that we have been joined by Sidra Kiani. Assalamu alaikum, Sidra, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
It's a wonderful to have you. It's a pleasure. So Sidra, tell us about women empowerment. What sort of conversations do you think we need to have? Because there are lots of conversations being held in the academia, in the social discourses, academic discourses, and media discourses.
Yes.
So do you think we as a country have come far off from those discourses and the discourses that we're witnessing in the academia in terms of economic development too?
Of course I do. If you see me, for example, if you want to give you a biography or something where I can start off, my name is Sidra Kiani. I'm an assistant manager. I'm working for S&P Global right now.
Right.
Before that, so my dad is a former ambassador. So what I did my whole life was travel abroad. My university was done here from Zabis in Islamabad, which is I did my bachelor's and my master's both from Zebist.
Right.
And now, of course, I'm working for a Fortune 500 company, which is S&P Global. Before that, I was working for Oxfam,
Right.
Novib.
Right. Right.
So I think so far so good. But while we're at it, let's talk about how do cultural and societal expectations impact women's ability to participate in the workplace.
Yes, because I say that the culture over here is really, really different, but there's a positive mindset right now where I see a lot of women who are from rural areas as well. They're also working, they're being educated. Their education is, their parents are talking to them about being able to
they're empowering them. Yes, of course, and we see a lot of these conversations happening, and I do see, I think, Shahzad, the conversation in Pakistan's context is somehow like this. I do see a lot of women who are actually in the workforce, but they're invisible. So if you see in the economic field in terms of the agriculture, a lot of women who are coming in, who are actually working, but their work count is not counted. It's not visible. So I think we also need to include them into that conversation. They are the invisible workforce, but they should be counted in the GDP as such, right?
Which is why, I think, while we're at it, I think we really need to kind of address, since we are speaking about women empowerment, about safety and mobility concerns for any lady who's out there. So may it be rural, may it be urban, we have had faced challenges as well. So how do you see that? Do you think that it limits their capability to add on to make sure that whatever work they wanted to do?
It does. But if you see that companies and organizations are now working for a safer environment where they're providing transport to females, there's also ride sharing opportunities as well.
But you know what I say? What I say is that it's not really or generally the company. It's the person who actually holds that designation who should be held responsible as well. How do you see that companies are making sure that there's a standard operating procedure in place that, God forbid, if something does anything, they should be held accountable?
Because there's anti-harassment policies now that are in place for females especially. And if you see that, if you see that's a positive trend where there used to be gender biasness where, it was more male oriented, but now that's changing to a positive trend where it's more females now. Especially if I just talk about S&P Global, we have transport only for females. Males do not get transport.
Who's driving the car?
It's a male driver.
I think we need to change there as well.
But still, it's only provided to females. It's from their house to S&P and then S&P to their house. It's not like, they'll have to walk from a single angle and then going to
And I'm sorry, it's a critical question. Sorry, Haja, I know that it's your turn anyways. But what my critical question is, and I would want to ask it in Urdu now, for our Urdu-speaking audiences, that is, do you think that, when we speak about women empowerment, equity, inequality, all of these things, don't you think that we शायद अब बहुत ज़्यादा शक भी करना शुरू हो गए हैं, we doubt men too much that, okay, yeah, probably this is what his intent was and this is what they wanted, or probably, don't you think that there needs to be a fair chance for everybody to judge before they kind of say, जी इसने मुझे harass कर दिया जी.
लेकिन आपने ये भी तो देखना है ना कि harassment वो किस basis पे कर रहे हैं. Exactly. Now, for example, if I talk about organizations, they have an anti-harassment, right? तो वो देखते हैं पहले कि हुआ क्या है. It's not like कि वो कहते हैं कि नहीं बस this is what has happened. There will be witnesses as well. And they talk to those witnesses, they have a conversation with them, and then they come to a conclusion.
Right. So Sitra, one last question before we wrap up our segment, and that is, in the context of Pakistan, women empowerment, feminism, so we have lots of debate in terms of equal wages. I don't think so that problem exists in Pakistan as much, right? As it is prevalent in Western countries, right? So what sort of conversations in terms of women, economic empowerment, women's empowerment we need to have in our workplaces? Yes, you talked about the harassment bill. We have passed it, but I do feel the HR departments of the institutions are going to protect the institution in itself. They're not going to come. I mean, there are exceptions. It's not a representation, but this is just my opinion. So please go ahead.
Because I think it all starts at home. It's like
grooming starts from home. That's true.
Everything starts at home. Your families need to speak up about your education, about your career aspirations. If your family is not supportive, literally your confidence will not be boosted, and neither will your morale. So I think it starts from home, and then of course organizations need to help as well to give you a safe workplace environment. If they don't provide that, of course families are going to question.
Exactly.
And these days is, as I said, organizations are working on that, and that's why it's towards a positive stride, where there are a lot of positive things for females that are happening now than before.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sidra, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you. For everybody who's out there, where we actually spoke about whether women get equal, you know, economic to participate in economic activity, may it be education, may it be any aspect of life. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that there are a lot of windows which have opened up now, alhamdulillah. So all you need is an intent. We're heading out towards a short break. Once you come back, we'll speak about it. You know, there are organizations, companies who are actually giving you free consultations, you know, free IELTS examination. You can do that. Go wherever, all over the world, study and make a career out of it. Right after a short break, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Good morning.
Yes. Thank you.
Welcome back, and before going on to the break, Shahzad alluded to the conversation that we are going to unfold in this segment. We are very glad that we have been joined by Birjees Qasim, who happens to be an educationist. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for joining us again.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So the last time when you were here, we spoke about free consultations, free international English language testing systems, and how, you know, we can go all over the world and study. So there are these education expos taking place starting from today, number one in Islamabad, then in Lahore. So please continue, let us know about it.
Thank you, Shahzad. So one of the reasons why I'm here is that we are running an expo. Today is day 3 of the expo, which is at Islamabad Marriott Hotel, starting from 11 till 6 p.m.
Wonderful.
Then it follows from city to city. Tomorrow would be in Faisalabad, and on the day after would be in Lahore. Simultaneously, other dates can then be seen from the events, which is in Gujranwala, Multan. So we're covering the entire country and hoping to engage with more students directly.
Ms. Birjees, what is these expos offering which cannot be found on the websites? Like, why should people make an effort to go there, which is different, you know, different experience than what is not being offered on the websites already?
It's quite pertinent for students to come in, walk in, and have a one-on-one consultation.
Okay.
So one of the perks of this is they get to speak to the actual university representative. So we have managed to, alhamdulillah, call the entire foreign delegation, B. Fowler and Lee as well, namely. They are the representatives of different universities. They'd be on these panels. They'd be there themselves discussing on each case with the students, and as a perk we'd be giving on-spot offer letters to the students who are coming. Not just that, we'd be giving up to £500 scholarships to promote all those who are coming to the event and help them more in their career and academic journey.
But why specifically UK? I mean, there are other English-speaking countries too, right? What is different in the UK which you're offering?
I did my undergraduate and master's from the UK, so maybe it shows my interest in UK. But that said, we also offer many universities in the US, Canada, Australia, China. So it entirely depends on the profile of student, where they want to be, their career, and their personal choice.
And do you think that this expo precisely kind of focuses on graduation programs, post-graduation programs, or PhDs? Or probably engineering, you know, because there's so many disciplines out there. So, or are we covering all of it?
True. The answer to this is yes, we're covering all, but the majority of the students would be interested in the postgraduate programs. And if you ask me why, UNDP 2022 updated report, obviously we can see the 2023 as well, but the links they're not to that on update. 23,000 Pakistani students have travelled to the UK. Particularly for the postgraduate courses. So this shows that there's a high influx of Pakistani students travelling abroad, particularly UK. And that's because of the post-study work visa. This wasn't offered previously. It has now been offered by the government to the students. It was maybe a thing a decade ago, but for the young generation now, it's a new thing. They could get their 2-year work visa with their 1-year academic degree.
And that's exactly most of the time that what students are actually looking for. But while we say that, you know, that they'll be able to get a work visa, do you think that these degrees will actually ensure them a future in a country where they're studying already?
it was very unfortunate that previously they weren't getting the visas.
Yeah.
Therefore, just after completing their degree, they had to return back, or they were maybe struggling to find the visas, or maybe residing to fraudulent ways or trying to settle.
Right.
This wasn't maybe focused on academic goals or careers.
Right.
However, now when they know they have a surety of getting 2-year work visa, they can actually promote and work in their fields. They do internships. They try to do, for example, for legal courses, they can join paralegals or law firms. So they have more opportunity when they have the comfort of not being thrown out of the country just after their academic year.
So, Ms. Marjees, one last question before we wrap up this segment, and that is, do these expos provide a personalized, I would say, to cater to the need of the students out there, a personalized sort of an experience with the university representative? What is your take on that?
The personal partnerships that Pakistan offers to these universities, one of the unique partnerships we are offering at these expos are engagement with telegraphic transfers, double exchange companies as well, and we try to give them, facilitate them the right method of transferring foreign exchange and fees to these countries.
And just to sum it up, so why do you think that your AA exchange and all of this, why are you offering free consultations, free international English language testing systems? Why are you out there for people to do so?
We on the board of directors decided to do something for the noble cause. Alhamdulillah, we're doing well individually. We actually wanted to help the nation, and I think to help the youth, the 22,000 that probably one of the portion we helped to send abroad. Once we contribute to the society, it does come back to us.
Right.
So.
Thank you so
wonderful.
much, and best of luck for your journey. And thank you once again for coming to our show, for shedding light on the student exchange programs and the cross-pollination of the ideas regarding the Pakistani students who want to have this experiences. So now we want to wish happy birthday to one of the, I would say, celebrity of the Pakistan.
Iconic ladies.
Yeah, because she has struggled a lot, and she is still struggling, that too for her husband. She happens to be Miss Mashal Malik, and happy birthday to you, Miss Mashal Malik. May you have many, many more, and may you see more prosperity, contentment in your life. Once again, Ameen Sumameen. And may your husband be freed from the Indian oppression. Once again, happy birthday to you. And with that, we will wrap up our segment. Until next time, it's a goodbye. Allah Hafiz.
It's a good morning. Have a great day ahead. Look after.